things are really kind of weird. You had several tornadoes in the Tanzabar area over the past few Earth days. The weather in the Azania-Matabele district is absolutely atrocious. When we look at the photos that we got from the regional governor Shati in the Ab.Zu Southern Rim region, she was on her way to go inspect the fields where we want to grow the cabbage, and it was a mess. Um, Weather is also somewhat stabilized now in the Kenyatta district. District governor spoke to the issue of this still a fair amount of rain. We were thinking that we might have a concern with water for the apples and the avocado trees. However, that is not the case. So across the planet, La Nina weather patterns are really setting in. Uh, Odd thing is about that whole scenario, we were under the impression that the west coast of Alkebu-lan and the Ab.Zu would get a lot of the rain and the east coast would be dry. We knew that according to the patterns, most of North-Amexem would be wet, very, very wet from the La Nina pattern. And that has been proven to be true. And now you got two serious snowstorms earlier, and now a potential third. So we can see how these things could impact commerce and trade down the line. Um, what I'm curious to see now is where things go, given that uh, parties in the foreign jurisdictions, they're having all these quote unquote currency crashes. And we're looking to see how other things are playing out since the foreign venue's Federal Reserve basically has cut their rates for a third time in the last 90 Earth days. And as a rule, as we spoke about, it was clear to us that there's been a decoupling between the quote unquote silver price and inflation. As a rule, whenever they cut their interest rates, the silver price drops. Well, it was cut twice previously, and the silver price didn't drop. It hovered. It went up, and it hovered, and it went up, and it hovered. Silver's back under 29 worthless pieces of paper for an ounce of silver in a sustained manner. 2 Earth days now of trading. Of trading. So I've been saying for the longest time, quote unquote, silver price shouldn't be anywhere near 30. It should be like 25 pieces of the worthless paper. It hasn't been anywhere near there. And even though it's at 29, it was at 30 for about 10 minutes yesterday. So we see where this is going. And we are clear on some of the things that are leading to this. Now, we've been speaking for quite some time about the decrease in the food that's available across the planet. If there is any inflation, it is more so tied back to food inflation, uh, somewhat to transportation costs. They're holding steady on this side of the ocean. On the other side, not so much. There are other severe consequences of folks engaging in invasion of another. Spoke to the issue of all the refineries and oil depots that the Ukrainians have knocked out with their drones on Russian territory. And you've had Russian oil ships seized. Uh, they've had other things that would limit the access to oil in certain places, to the point now that in so-called Russia, they're seeing the price of gasoline, which has already gotten so high on them, has skyrocketed even further now. And the fallout from Assad fleeing to Moscow, uh, the Ukrainian foreign minister, and who is now in charge of uh, their foreign affairs in Syria, they sat down and had face-to-face discussions, looking to have a strategic relationship. So, what a difference a few Earth days make. Russia was keeping Assad in power. Ukrainians beat the snot out of him, basically on their land. The Russians can no longer project power like that. They had to pulled back a little bit, and that was enough for Assad to be overrun. He had to flee to Russia. And now, the former ally is watching their land that they fled from become friendly with the enemies of Moscow. And again, the parties over there in the Sahel, they get their weaponry from the Russians. How they're going to get access to that remains to be seen going forward, since everything the Russians get their hands on is going into their invasion fight in Ukraine. So I know that Mamlaka al-Maghreb is talking friendly with those in Sahel. See how that goes, see where that goes, and how long it actually lasts. Because when they start doing particular things prior, with other parties looking to support them, things suddenly turned. And you're seeing other things now, as I said previously. Ab.Zu and Niamey, they may get into some fisticuffs. Tell you right now, if that goes down, you can bring Ouagadougou, Niamey, and Bamako together. They still don't have the smoke to take on Ab.Zu. And that kind of party. They're well armed and well trained under the watchful eyes of those in the Ab.Zu. And they are far more well financed. I don't know why folks even do it to themselves like this. Because quite frankly, the pipeline that was being built out of Ab.Zu's sphere of influence, passing through Niamey's sphere of influence, would have benefited all of them. So whatever conflict is going on with those in Sahel and ECOWAS is stupid. However, it's to be expected. Where this goes remains to be seen. All I can tell you is where things stand right now. I don't see how it's going to impact the Amexem-Moor-Empire directly. Indirectly, it already has, but we've been able to mitigate that. Going forward, I still say we're going to be able to mitigate that. I just don't want to see folks go through all this unnecessary drama that's easily avoidable. What are folks doing on this side of the ocean? I keep saying, I'd like to see those of our folks in their 40s and 50s to get our folks that's in their teens, their 20s and 30s to adjust course. The opportunities to engage in businesses that are tied back to electronics fields, that's where things are going. And they should be able to feed a family if they get in on those particular businesses. Because a lot of things that were sent over to the Far East are being brought back here. And with parties engaging in trade wars, overt and covert, every time you turn around, there's a new thing added onto a list that's not going to be traded with the other. The latest thing is particular parts that are put on drones. All it's going to do is speed along the process of folks on this side of the ocean looking to make the components over here. So our youth should get in on that action. I want to see us do things like that. I mean, it's easy for us to pick up a microphone, a basketball, a football, or a baseball bat. Not knocking any of that. But we should be able to do things like get in on the electronics field too. Some of our youth, they are excellent with using Linux. They're excellent in all types of things tied back to IT. Even some of the things regarding AI, robotics, and all these things. So if they can do that in their youth, I figure they can find a way to feed themselves and their family going forward.